Hello and welcome back guys. Today we are starting a new story named One Piece x MHA, The Straw Hat of UA, written by author Evan Primus _FTW. Please go and support the author, the link is in description. Chapter 39 One Piece x MHA, The Straw Hat of UA, AN. Why so many of you seem to enjoy it, but I'm glad to see that's the case. Personally I don't like how it turned out, but if you enjoy it this way, I'll keep it how it is. With the little percentage of one for all he is able to use, he was trying his best to keep up with anything coming towards him. The tireless fight against all for one didn't seem to be stopping at all as Izuku tries his best to keep up against this one villain that his sensei tries his best to keep up to, but is up to impossible for both of them to do much. All of Japan witnessing this fight in shock and horror as Izuku Midoriya and All Might give it their all while fighting the menace of all for one with their soul, but barely able to do much against this massive threat standing up on front of them. Neither of the two in the best of conditions. Izuku rushes in, barely dodging incoming tendrils as he gets some cuts across his arms, but this isn't enough to stop him as he grabs a nearby tube to throw it right where AFO's eyes once were, but he quickly shoots it away. AFO, you are naive kid, I must give you credit over that. He activates spring-like limbs and combines it with air cannon. Seeing the incoming attack, Izuku suddenly starts doing somersaults, confusing all for one as he fires out his shot, but Izuku takes this to his advantage as he puts OFA at 8% to punch the ground and launch himself over the shot of air pressure that impacts onto a further building, collapsing it at impact. Izuku's sad face. He won't always fall on my tricks. I need to try something to do severe damage or stun him for enough time for All Might to do something. Hell, I may have to sacrifice my arm if things get worse, he thinks as he continues rushing around the place distracting AFO. AFO, what is the point of even doing this, kid? A death wish? Do you want to end it all in this spot? What is it exactly that keeps you moving every second of your life as you try to be a hero for everyone when you can't even save yourself? Sad face. I don't find an opening. I can't see myself doing much right now. Damn it. Damn it all. He says as he looks at his successor giving it his all but clearly not being enough to fight off this menace. It was clear AFO was only playing around with Izuku, and even Izuku himself knew it. Meanwhile, somewhere else. Inko, please come out of this alive, Izuku, I beg you. She says as she can't stop crying while looking at this chaotic scenario in front of her eyes as she is held carefully by Masaru and Mitsuki. Mitsuki, first my son and now yours. This DMN villains, just what do they want from us? She says with a sad yet angry look while seeing at the screen. Uraraka, please Deku-kun, please live this. Uraraka's dad. He holds on to Uraraka's shoulder still looking at the screen, desperate. He'll be okay dear, you should know it. Uraraka, too, can only hope he will. Is there really nothing we can do to help him? She sighs. Unfortunately not, we can't intervene in his fight. Why is it always the same? Why is it always his fights we can't do anything about other than see him agonize in the front lines? She grips onto friend while looking at the green-haired boy who barely dodged a tendril cutting part of his chest before he throws a steel beam onto AFO's leg. We should try and contact his mom. She is most likely hysterical at the moment. Oh, you don't say. She is hysterical over son fighting this villain that almost killed All Might. Of course she's worried that her son may died. Izuku Midoriya. All of this mysterious voices turn surprised and shocked to the light brown-haired girl looking at the TV while holding on to friend. I remember you, Izuku Midoriya, news reporter. The absolute chaos continues raining down upon the battle as the young kid, still without proper identification, gives it his all in the attempt to protect All Might from this villain, yet it doesn't seem to be enough to stop this menace. Both are at their limit. If help doesn't get to them or something happens, we may lose this. Two heroes in action, she says looking out of the window of her helicopter. She only hears all of this as she continues building some stuff, but her own emotions don't let her continue with ease as tears slowly fall down her face listening to this and knowing who is the one present on this fight. She continues working as much as possible before her hands start to shake, making her let go off the wrench she was using as more and more tears fall down her face. Don't you dare die, you promised me something, so you better pay up to it, Midoriya. Ida, damn it. I should have known he was gonna do this. Kirishima, why did we let go of him? We should have done something to stop this from happening. He says frustrated while looking at the screen in front of him. Ida, now all we can do is sit down and watch AAGH. Is so DMN frustrating to know this. He said off to himself for not trying to stop Izuku earlier. Kirishima, we can only hope for the best for him, nothing more. He looks away from the screen still with visible frustration. Bakugo's eyes were only focused on the screen, only staring at this. His mind didn't know what to think of this scenario he was trapped in, and he could only look at this desperate as his mind thinks back to that day and what he told to Izuku that day in middle school. If you so badly want a quirk, then go take a swan dive off the roof and pray to get a quirk on your next life. His teeth were only gritted while looking at this scene in front of him. Not only was he feeling guilty over the possible death of the symbol of peace, but also felt horrible when thinking of all he made Izuku go through in this past years. Was this guy he so much looked down upon about to die with such horrible life being left behind? Was there not going to be a path of flowers for him to leave this world in peace? Would he even die knowing he did right, or if the world even cared for him? Bakugo's sad face. You better live, Deku. He only continues looking at the screen as Izuku is hit straight in the jaw but is able to fire enough air pressure to redirect AFO's attack, saving All Might, who starts to rush in. I got so much to fix with you. So live. Take the shot. Screams Izuku as he finally is able to stop himself as his nose and mouth got damaged badly, making him bleed out of them while looking at AFO and All Might, who go directly to clash between each other. Gran Torino only looks from afar, not even surprised that Izuku had to turn out as insane as All Might is, but can only stare at this clash of titans. GT's sad-faced Toshinori is at a great disadvantage at this point. Though the Gaki won enough time for him and stall All for One for a bit, it won't be enough for this clash. This is a duel between two superpowers, to put it short, and AFO has the upper hand for being on a better condition. The floor beneath AFO and All Might suddenly shatters as both start letting out an intense pressure by the second, lifting entire pieces on concrete and sending them flying kilometers from them, as all the other injured heroes nearby can only stare at this in shock, trying to hold themselves in place. But that's when the floor ceases for All Might, making his eyes widen as AFO only smirks deviously, noticing this opening he just got to put an end to his nemesis as he presses forwards, pushing All Might back at insane speeds. Everyone sees as All Might continues being pushed back and his arm slowly starts to cease to the strain, making veins across the arm to pop. AFO, you continue holding on to those small flakes left of OFA deep inside of you, like you don't want them to leave you yet. Like arrogant people not wanting to pay their taxes to keep their money, and it is rather pathetic. He puts even more strength onto his mutated arm, causing even more. All Might could only let curling scream of agony and pain as he was still being pushed down, barely having more strength on his body. He puts it all on his legs to try and stop himself from being pushed back even more, to completely destroy everything behind him in the process. The public could only look at this in pure despair and shock, not knowing what to do about what they were witnessing, hoping to see someone enter in action to help out, and to their luck there was someone. Javelin. The heavy noise of air pressure generating as all energy was input onto a simple steel pipe that accelerated at such speeds that part of it was starting to heat up due to how much air it was breaking in just that 1 second. Said pipe stabs onto AFO's arm, stopping itself halfway through it, surprising the villain and the public as All Might knew who it was and was not expecting this to happen all of a sudden. Can't believe you forgot about me. All for One. Izuku screams as he gets to All for One's leg in one serious boost that has his souls burning due to him using 10% on it. Young Midoriya, All Might thinks, looking at his disciple surprised but also getting some motivation from him. I have not teached you properly. I can't even call myself a proper MSTR like mine was to ma, but that is the why. Taking advantage from this sudden blind spot he was able to make, Izuku is able to hit the back knee of All for One, making him lose balance over himself. And confusing him, why did he not calculate such a child play pulled on him? All Might sees this as an advantage as he unbuffs his right arm, letting the AFO's punch go through as it breaks All Might's right arm, but he buffs up his left arm and lands a powerful left hook on AFO's neck, stunning the villain. I can't die here. The powerful punch ends up sending Izuku flying far from this fight, bouncing all over the place as he holds onto the finger he broke to throw the metal pipe like a javelin earlier before being stopped by a wall behind him as he spots someone next to him trapped under the rubble. As soon as the air pressure calms down, Izuku doesn't think of it twice as he tries to lift up the rubble on top of the girl next to him, who is only looking at him in shock. Izuku, hang in there. I'll get you out of here. he says as he slowly lifts up the piece of rubble from on top of her dash. You okay? Why yeah, she says as she crawls out from under the rubble quickly while looking back at the fight. AFO, you wouldn't do something this insanely reckless. He suddenly activates spring-like limbs and air cannon while looking at All Might with an insane-filled smile. Dash, he has been influencing you, hasn't he? Just as weak as him. That's when all of a sudden, All Might's left arm unbuffs, surpassing AFO as he sees this to be weird and completely out of place from All Might, but that is when he stretches out his right arm. That's because I didn't put my back into it. Izuku could see it and sense it. His connection to OFA made it even more obvious than anything else before this, as he is able to see a small flame in front of him and how it was ready to have fuel be dropped on it before combusting into a huge cloud of power one last time. Noticing this, he doesn't think about it twice as he grabs the girls in front of him and jumping behind the wall he crashed onto, perfectly knowing this next punchy's about to be All Might's final smash. All Might's right arm suddenly buffs up as he holds deeply onto the pain caused by this action while looking straight at All for One. His final push was here and he was going to go all out until the very end. AFO goes to shoot All Might as he dodges at a very last second, causing a huge explosion behind him. He goes in with all his strength and might being put onto this one punch as he twists his entire body, throwing all weight towards AFO, landing a punch straight onto his jaw. Goodbye, All for One. His full power burst out as the noise of bones cracking echoes from AFO United States of Smosh. Izuku holds tightly onto the girl he saved as Gran Torino not too far from them also keeps himself in place as much as possible as buildings and land itself is lifted from the ground by the powerful punch from All Might, who only stands there in th. Izuku holds tightly onto the girl he saved as Gran Torino not too far from them also keeps himself in place as much as possible as buildings and land itself is lifted from the ground by the powerful punch from All Might, who only stands there in the eye of the storm as his last remains of OFA slowly leave his body. Izuku could feel those remainings leave his body as he only stood there holding onto the girl, realizing exactly what just happened. This was truly it for him. Goodbye one for all. The world had fallen in silence yet again as they only looked at this scene in front of them, wondering what was happening now. As it all died down, the heroes finally getting a chance to peek into the center of the battle where a heavily injured AFO stood below All Might as he stood up and got away from AFO carefully. He what a fall of a symbol. All Might only has his eyes widen as he holds in the pain he feels at the moment while looking at AFO, who apparently finds himself still conscious even after this fell on him. Izuku got a rush of worry as he looks back at All Might and is able to see AFO's chest inflating as if he was having a hard time breathing or laughing. This last thought worried Izuku heavily, making him let go off the girl in his arms before jumping up and rushing towards his predecessor, leaving the girl confused at first. You are always a hard shell to crack. I have to admit you have never been easy to deal with and never will, he says as he smiles more and more and he starts to do a random combination of quirks while looking at All Might, who is too shocked and injured to move. But let this last dance be your last memory. His left arm quickly goes to shoot towards All Might some sort of black mass and energy that make All Might's eyes widen while looking at him and incoming attack, ready to take it and accept fate, but this world has other plans for him, as he gets pushed aside by his successor, who he only looks in shock and disbelief by his sudden reaction. Izuku only tackles him smiling as he looks at the villain below him and says to All for One, congrats, you've lost to me. He closes his eyes as the quirk combination suddenly hits Izuku's abdomen and causing some sort of cracks that surround his body before his body shatters like glass until it consumes itself, leaving nothing behind. All for One only looks at this even more shocked. Just how unpredictable is the ninth user? He not only hurt him at his weakest point, but he also was able to be so unpredictable that he could have never planned any of his moves. But All Might's reaction was different. His successor, his student, right in front of him disappeared smiling like he always does. He knew one thing though, his successor didn't want him to be sad over this, and if anything, he didn't want AFO to win, and he succeeded on it, so why should he let AFO win against him? He was not planning on making his student sacrifice something to go in vain as he looks back at AFO before buffing up one more time and staring at the villain below him. You have lost to young Midoriya and do not think you will win against me now, because I will make sure his win is not destroyed by you. All Might only stares at the villain below him as he steps on his arm to not let him do much more. he was quirkless, so there was nothing for him to take other than the determined glare of all might to ensure his successor's victory continues to be said victory after his sacrifice. Japan was in silent now. It was almost impossible to understand what happened, but one of UA's students had just sacrificed himself to keep the symbol of peace safe from whatever this attack was that killed Izuku. All of the nation fell in silence looking at this as the UA student who knew Izuku hated what they saw. Uraraka, Deku-kun, she slowly starts to tear up before her entire body collapses, letting her be catched by her dad, who tries to snap her back onto her five senses. Hatsum, she only starts to tear up as she looks at her TV in disbelief. Midoriya, Kaminari, no, why him of all? He says, looking at the screen in disbelief. Shoto Midoriya. His eyes only shake while looking at the screen as Momo holds onto him tightly, both not wanting to believe they just witnessed the death of their friend. Ida, and no, he says with a dreadful look on his eyes as he tears up. Kirishima, Mimido. He only falls back while staring at the screen in too much shock to even speak. Bakugo could only stare at this screen in disbelief as he didn't know what to say or what to do about this that he just witnessed, as his eyes only stared at the screen in too much shock that nothing was coming out of him. On another part of Japan, all of those mysterious voices only looked at the screen in shock, but one of them was having a more violent reaction. Though she may have not remembered him all this time, she knew they were close. They were one and one in the past, enjoying life as kids, but now he was gone. All emotions deep inside of them start to ramp up as both of them start to breathe heavily while looking at the chaos and the happening in front of them, one shaking violently while the other one only grips onto himself, stabbing his nails onto his hand, both slowly starting to break as tears form. Dku Izuku. Across the next months, the world was in rather chaos due to what they had witnessed. Not only did the symbol of peace fell, but not only that, one of UA's students died protecting him from this villain that showed to overpower him badly. There was not much saying to UA as they had shown so much pain over the loss of Izuku. There was almost no one in UA that didn't feel bad for this loss, though Monoma is a complete but about it. He is completely shut by people whenever he says something about Izuku. Everyone continues their lives as much as humanly possible, but there is an obvious hole in the lives of everyone in Class 1A. Izuku was a huge part of their lives, and to say his death didn't hurt them would be trying to PSS all of them. They all miss him and would love to see him yet again in this world with them, as the student of the hero course who always seemed hopeful about everything now was not there. To no one's surprise, Izuku's friends were the most hurt about this loss, Tsuyu being the main moral support to keep the others together but still struggling. Ida doesn't have it easy as he blames himself for letting him go into action. Shoto feels like he wasted any chance of assisting the one person who saved him from himself and did a mistake by not saving him from his own actions. Uraraka is heartbroken knowing his best friend is gone, forever, with no signs of coming back anytime soon, and she really is no difference. She also misses him a lot. He was her hero back in the USJ and was someone she was truly inspired by until her very last breath. If you were to ask him who she wants to be, just like the four previously mentioned, they would tell you they want to be a hero like their friend was before leaving this world. What came as a surprise for everyone was the way Bakugo started to act afterwards. He was more serious than before and his eyes gave away self-hatred over something that none of them know of. He can only look at himself as a failure of humanity and was willing to completely give up on this of being a hero, saying he doesn't deserve to become one after so long with the way he is and his past actions, thing he now can't redeem at all without Izuku here to fight for his forgiveness. Another one a bit surprising to the class was none other than Mei Hatsum. She was known to be Izuku's equal from the support course and one to seriously be a great friend of their fellow green-haired friends since the sports festival, both of them always planning new upgrades for costumes, talking of quirks and inventions, but it seemed like she didn't want to do any of that. Whenever she was to build something, it seemed uninspired and missing her passion for building as her jade eyes lost that shine present on them before Izuku's death. She always ends up making something related to Izuku and staring at the suitcase number 18, the suitcase where Izuku's costume can be found at. For months went by as the class only tried to give it their best more and more as the time goes by to try and make Izuku proud and not look like complete failures in the name of their fallen classmate that so much respected everyone here. The emotions didn't fail them at the moment as everyone hated themselves over this past events and not being able to help their friend. They missed him and nothing could change it. A particular day came in for everyone and it wasn't a day anyone could expect. some members of Class 1A had much to do as they went on to work in the agencies that decided to take them in while the others had the day a bit free but not to its fullest. That's when Bakugo suddenly got a call, an interesting one to say the least. He was now making his way towards his house silently while looking around and just walking. Anywhere he went thought was getting him memories he lives with Izuku in the past, like those times they played at being heroes, obvious terrible memories yet a bit inspiring due to Izuku's valiant effort to protect that kid even though he was quirkless and much more things. This last 4 months made Bakugo reflect a lot on the past. If anyone was meant to be a hero was Izuku and his caring personality that he so much dismissed as a loser's personality. Bakugo, what AF hypocrite I was, he says while looking down as he reaches his house. Bakugo quickly goes to enter silently as he sees his mom carrying some cups of tea as she looks at Bakugo, seeing how done with life he seems to be. Mitsuki, hey there Katsuki. Bakugo, hey there, he only says as he walks up to her. Mitsuki sad face, not even screaming or anything, just so weird to not hear him do that. She sighs. There's some people you want to see, it may not fully help you but they wanted to meet you after so long. Bakugo, who do you mean? He says looking at her confused. Mitsuki, take a look for yourself. She says as she turns to the living room. Bakugo turns towards the living room as his eyes widen a bit, noticing the people sitting in said place, with one of them being Inko, whose eyes are lifeless since the loss of her son, as she is talked in by 2 different girls that Bakugo and his guts are quite familiar with. This were the only girls that had basically become a bridge of comprehension between Izuku and him back when they were in the worst of terms in their lives. This girls being possibly some of the oldest friends of his and Izuku, as he remembers what happened not even a day after they left, with him berating the green-haired boy knowing the girls were not going to defend him. That's when he suddenly punches himself with all his strength. The girls and Inko only look at this as Mitsuki holds Bakugo, stopping him from crashing onto the wall. Mitsuki, Katsuki, what the hell? Bakugo, I hate to think of it. Mitsuki, snap yourself out of it brat and talk to them. Bakugo, yeah. He says as he cleans off some BLD from his nose that he made himself drip as he walks up to the living room. Katsuki, Bakugo, hey there, he says as he sits down in front of them. So what brought both of you here? We wanted to check on all of you. We had planned to a while ago but some issues at work didn't let us to duty. Don't think you're the only one who can't take the situation we have been trapped in this past months, the 2 are also pretty affected. Bakugo, so why are they not here? She told me that it was not the time to meet again yet, you 2 can't see each other yet until she feels like the time is up. Bakugo hearing this only gets his whole back to the couch while staring at the room blankly. Bakugo, is because I'm weakies all because of it. Everyone's eyes focus on Bakugo now. Bakugo, if I wasn't this weak piece of SHT I could have helped Deku fight that villain, I could have helped All Might and he would not have retired. Deku would be alive if I wasn't weak and I hate that thought. I hate it so much. I lost someone who has supported me for years yet I never minded it, and now that he's gone of course I'm realizing I've been nothing but a prick to the nicest human on earth for an entire decade. The pink-haired girl only stares at the broken sight of Bakugo, who only continues staring at the roof, hating himself more than anything else. She stands up as she nears Bakugo, only leaving the light brown-haired girl worried due to her faintly remembering how she used to treat Bakugo sometimes when they were kids, but right now it was different as the pink-haired girl hugs Bakugo on the attempts of calming him down. She could feel this attempt was futile, it didn't feel like something that will truly help him, but trying is all worth coming from here. All 5 of us miss him. She was able to remember him, you know. She's struggling to sleep because her mind continues reminding her of Izuku whenever she's asleep. She says they feel like nightmares due to him not being here, and it's obviously saddening to see them like that, but when you can't stop thinking of something or someone, this is sometimes the result. Bakugo, I see, don't give up now Katsuki, at least finish your dream for him, okay? She says as she instinctively kisses his forehead. Bakugo, why? Yeah, I will, Mori. Callie only smiles hearing this as she lets him go and sits down next to him, but just as she was about to talk, his phone suddenly vibrates, making him reach out for it and turns it on to see what it was. It was some news. He opens it up just to freeze in almost a second. His hand quickly rushes to the controller as he turns on the TV desperate and starts to change channels. Everyone looks at him confused, not knowing Exactly what is happening before he stops on the news channel and sees the news. This makes everyone present to stare at it and read them in shock and disbelief. News report: we have reports of an ongoing raid that doesn't seem to be going too well for heroes as the villains continue overpowering them via the usage of enhancing drags as the fight wages on. Not even some minutes ago, the floor had gaped open, revealing a massive compound hiding underneath this entire district that no one had ever seen before. It has been reported that many heroes are injured at the moment and no one fully knows what could happen at this rate. At the Hassaikai Raid we find ourselves with a seriously injured Mirio who looks towards the man with the beaker mask in front of him while holding the white-haired girl with a horn looking at Mirio stabbed by spikes as all nearby heroes find themselves too injured to move. "Overhaul, come on Eri, move it to have to leave now," he says as he looks towards the little white-haired girl next to Mirio who only looks terrified at the scenario. "I said to move it earlier, do you want me to kill everyone here?" "Eri, 2 go, just please don't kill them," she says as she starts to walk towards Overhaul slowly. Mirio, Eri, Uraraka and Tsuyu can only look at this as they try to crawl up the mountain of rubble to try and assist the heroes below them, but their stamina is too low for them to do anything against this menace. Uraraka, "I can't fail, Tsuyu, Eri." She continues pulling herself up in quite the painful way. Ryukyu only looks at the two heroes working with her as she finds herself injured and tired as she doesn't know what to do at the moment. On one hand Night Eye was pierces on the chest and is dying on her arms, and on the other hand the whole mission is there. She doesn't know what to do at the moment as she tries to think of a way to help everyone by equal. Night Eye, "We've lost, Ryukyu, hang in there Night Eye, we're getting you out of here, okay?" Night Eye, "No, no one will make it out, we've lost this, they won't," he says in severe agony as he accidentally uses his quirk on Ryukyu just for his eyes to widen. "What? But, Ryukyu, Night Eye. Night Eye, Ryukyu, Night Eye, don't leave me yet. Night Eye, who is that? Ryukyu, huh? What are you talking about?" She notices his eyes. "What did you see Night Eye? What's wrong?" Night Eye, whoever that is will change the future, not just now but of the whole worlds." Ryukyu only stares at him in shock to what she's listening before Night Eyes points towards the gaping hole on top of them, making her turns towards it. She notices something, or more like someone who, even though she can't see, she can feel his presence coming near, her instincts warning her of whatever is coming has power, insane amounts of power, and it was coming in hot. "Overhaul, this is your loss, heroes. Today you lose yet again, you BSTRDS. And what says that?" Everyone's eyes widen as they look up the hole, spotting a shadowed figure standing above them as he only looks down to them with a smile on his face and some stuff over his shoulder. "It's been a while since I actually fought, about 3 months by now actually, but I had business to take care of and it was kind of worth it, and now I'm here to see this happening in front of my eyes." Shishishi. His smile grows wider. "Let's save the day then. Overhaul, who the hell are His eyes widen as he can't see the shadowed figure anymore as he feels a presence next to him. Divine departure. The shadowed figure suddenly slams a sword onto the side of Overhaul, who only coughs before being skyrocketed onto a wall. "Well, maybe I went a bit overboard, I mean makes sense, I'm used at opponents I need to overpower and all that business," he says, scratching his cheek while looking at Overhaul who's stuck in the wall as he looks down to Eri. "Hey there little girl." He crouches down to her level. "You okay?" There was something weird for Eri, though he felt intimidating and all, he didn't really seem like a bad guy, and if anything, she felt safe while looking at him. "Eri, why yeah. What's your name?" I am Eri, Eri. "Not a bad name, let me take care of this bad guy, okay?" Sure. But first. He picks up Eri before getting away from the site they were at as he drops her next to Uraraka and Tsuyu, who just look at him. "Uraraka, who are you?" "DMN, I have changed a lot, haven't I?" "That doesn't matter right now, let me take care of this guy quickly," he says as he extends his sword as black lightning with turquoise outlines emanates from it as it engulfs the sword, letting a black coating to cover it. "Let's put you to test in this new world, ACE." Lightning suddenly emanates from the shadowed figure, lightning that reminds them of their old friend as tears only fall from both. Seeing this, lightning suddenly emanates from the shadowed figure, lightning that reminds them of their old friend as tears only fall from both. Seeing this, The shadowed figure quickly rushes around the place knowing of the incoming attacks from Overhaul as they crush onto the floor, destroying part of it but not stopping them at all. Some attacks Overhaul shoots out of prediction hoping to hit the shadowed figure are destroyed before he could even see them contact onto the figure. This confused them. What kind of power did this person have? How was he doing this with so much ease? He gets snapped out of his thoughts when he turns to his left and spots the shadowed figure looking at him with two swords at hand. Oden Notoryu. Togen Shirataki. The shadowed figure throws a double slash that ends up cutting the walls nearby and causing an explosion, causing severe damages across Overhaul's waist as he screams in pain while landing on the floor. The shadowed figure sets the second sword as he keeps at hand the one he priorly named Ace to then look at the villain and see he's barely hanging in there, but that's when he uses his quirk on himself to fix the injury he got himself, surprising the shadowed figure a bit. You know, that would have come useful after Sabayati and Elbaf. Who cares? Still, let's get this done now. Overhaul, who the hell do you think you are, calling it off in the middle of a battle? You are nothing if you think you can beat me. Oh, I don't think Beaker Mani, no, you can't even scratch me, because compared to any other person I've faced in the last 4 years. He grips onto his sword as the light of the sun finally makes it possible to see his face as he stares down at Overhaul. That's when Overhaul goes to rush him and try to touch him right on the face, but he only stays unfazed as the finger touches him, poking his eye and raising worries, but nothing happens. All heroes present start to look around for Eraserhead, but he doesn't show to be anywhere nearby, only raising even more questions. Overhaul, what? To hurt me, your willpower must surpass me, but to surpass me, you would have to be the Pirate King to put me in shame. He says, still smiling a bit while looking at Overhaul and clenching his fist before coming in with a strong jab coated in some black mass as it hits right on Overhaul's face, causing a shockwave that frees out red and turquoise lightning dash. But you will never be anything like my captain. Overhaul is suddenly sent flying at a high speed throughout the rooftop, encrusting him on the walls of the hall. The shadowed figure jumped throughout to get here as a huge shockwave flies throughout the sky, making clouds on top of them while also making more light enter the place, revealing the person in front of them and who it was, only making Tsuyu's and Uraraka's eyes widen in shock and disbelief to the sighting in front of them. Seeing this green hair swaying around with the wind as his green lightning emanates from him, and he grips the Mito of Supreme Grade at his hand, wearing his wide blinding smile as his white shirt that covers his chest and long dark green pirate jacket with a pattern that reminds of his hero costume, with some loose pants and 2 belts with different patterns, and a certain Jolly Roger on the main belt with a collar made of solid gold orbs around his neck while looking up. Uraraka, why, you're kidding, Tsuyu, Emmy, Night Eye, sad face to twist fate, powerful one must be, so it seems you also are. He, did you finally recognize me? Well, is nice to be back, in all honesty. Now I have a dream to make real. He says as he turns to them dash, he doesn't have a hat, he says as he turns to them dash, he doesn't have a hat, Deku-kun Midoriya. I know, another AU. Really? Look, I love reading, and with vacations like 2 weeks from now, I'm gonna be able to work with ease and fun, making fun stuff for all of you. I do hope you guys like this, because I'm a real big One Piece fan, and I mostly didn't do anything about this idea before because I was waiting for chapter 1044 to see where I would have to take everything after Wano. I'm not spoiling anything other than One Piece has made history yet again. So careful in Twitter. Now see ya. Chapter 39 One Piece XMHA. The Straw Hat of UA. We see a desperate All Might driving at a high speed towards the hospital. His worries were such after hearing the arrival of 2 news that he didn't waste time to grab Tsukachi and get inside the Hercules to drive full throttle towards the previously mentioned hospital. 2 things had raised this worries: the news of his old partner and his condition, and the appearance of a green-haired guy claiming to be Izuku Midoriya. The worries were such he most likely broke all possible driving rules while trying to make his way there to see what this entire mess is all about and what they have to do about it to clarify any problems. He quickly parks as both him and Tsukachi quickly get out of the car and run off to check on everyone else. All Might was having some struggles to follow behind, but his determination to see his partner and figure out who seems to be trying to steal his student's identity, all in a panic. As they near the door to Night Eye, All Might quickly goes to enter it as Tsukachi lets him be, and he goes on his own way to a different room, where they have the person who says to be Izuku Midoriya sitting there. Nearing this room where he's at, he only hears more and more noises of people confusing him even more, as it sounded like someone was fighting over there and that it was some serious business going down inside. He goes to open the door to be met by the sighting of Tsuyu Azui and Ochako Uraraka sitting right in front of a cuffed green-haired boy while other heroes and policemen only look at him. Izuku, why I jumped into action, oh yeah, to save those heroes that would have died and stopping you all from losing. Rocklock, don't sound cocky, idiot. Izuku, if I was cocky I would be making fun of you flincing to that injury you have on your waist, but hey, got shot with a cannon at blank range once so I can't really say much. Did I say how this are comfortable? He says, showing his cuffs to the people in front of him. Tsuyu, can we finally speak to Midoriya? Karo, she says while looking at the heroes. Tsukachi, I would like to help you all out in this. He says, entering the room and taking off his hat. Izuku, Tsukachi-san. He says, looking at him surprised. Tsukachi, I want to know what exactly happened. If you really are Midoriya and with my quirk I can assure what he says is true or not. He says as he takes out a small notepad. Aizawa, I'm staying here too. This may turn out to be my student and I may have to apprehend him for certain irrational actions. He says, staring at Izuku. Izuku's sad face, well, someone only became scarier. He says with a sweat drop, looking at Aizawa. The other heroes start to leave, still not fully convinced about Izuku's sudden appearance in action after 4 months since his death happened. It felt weird and off and there was really no way to fully explain it. Tsuyu and Uraraka were still in shock, looking at their friend in front of him and all of the stuff he had in his person. A very pirate-like sword, one katana with multiple decorations across it, mostly composed of purple colors across it, both belts of his with the Jolly Roger up front, his gold sphere collar, a pretty big duffel bag made of resistant materials and most likely waterproof with the Jolly Roger also found on the belt. Inside of the bag there were 2 different yet unique-looking fruits, a small snail, a notebook that has not been opened yet, an empty piece of paper inside of a smaller bag with the name Yamato written on it, what seemed to be a flag still, and lastly a box with some rolled up papers inside of it. Izuku only looks at everyone in front of him silently as his right arm shows to have some new scars, and in his left arm there's a huge black X on his wrist, a scar that goes up the right side of neck and right cheek. They are all simply surprised by this as Izuku only start to look more and more tired by the second. Traveling from world to world tired him out a lot. Izuku, so who gets the first word? Tsukachi, what happened? After the fight against AFO. Izuku, it's a long story in all honesty, but what day is it? Aizawa, why asking? Izuku, 'cause I need to know when am I, or why do all of you look like the day of the camp? Uraraka, what are you implying? Izuku, I need to know the date and then I can explain. Tsukachi, he takes out his phone. September 16th, 2XXX. Izuku, oh wow, I think it makes sense now. Tsukayachi, what makes sense? He activates his quirk. Izuku, I was only gone for 4 months, for you, for me it was 3 years and 9 months. Tsukachi's eyes widen hearing this comment at last second while looking at Izuku. Aizawa, Uraraka, and Tsuyu also look at him confused and surprised, as this was nothing for them to expect and didn't even know what to think and if he was just lying. Tsukachi, that's true. The other 3 turn to Tsukachi in shock, not believing it. Uraraka, 3 years. Aizawa, but how? Izuku, I can only think of how time works in different worlds, and I know I did spend about 3 years over there, dealing with all that stuff, the Paramount War, and taking the 2 years to train. Not only that, but the next year focusing on beating the Yonkos. Aizawa, what are you even saying, problem child? Izuku, I was sent to a different world is what I'm saying. Everyone goes silent as their eyes once again go back to Tsukachi, who just stands there silently, finding it hard to believe this, but his quirk has never failed him even with all for one himself. Tsukachi, is the truth you were on a different world for what was 3 years and 9 months for you, while for us it only has been 4 months since your death? Izuku, well, my death was greatly exaggerated. Aizawa, yeah, no SHT Midoriya. Uraraka, but what happened with you? Where were you all this time? Tsuyu, how did you get all this stuff and injuries? Uraraka, and what you did with that sword and all that, how much has happened with you in this time? Izuku, it's been a lot, to say the least. Telling you I fought protect entire countries should tell you enough. Aizawa, well aren't you the heroic one? Izuku, hey, it hasn't been easy at all. I suffered a lot across this last 3 years and we turned the world upside down for its own sake. Is the words, war, not enough for you to understand how terrible this was for me? And I thought Luffy was a hard head for not getting all those hints thrown to him. Actually, I'm not one to say that. Tsukachi, so it truly is you though, Izuku, in flesh and BLD, he stretches a bit. It's been so long since I last sat down on a bed this comfortable. In all honesty, oh it feels so good compared to sleeping on the broken hammock we made from branches. Aizawa, what exactly was this world about Midoriya? Izuku, let's see, corrupt government, racism, slavery, pirates, super huge animals that tower over Mount Everest, giants, making one's will into a powerful weapon required to try and survive across this land, things we think are impossible being more than humanly possible over there. Did I already say pirates? The four of them only stare at him with one question in mind: what kind of things did Izuku actually went through? He looks more calm than how he was 4 months ago, but they can only guess his growth spurt across what was almost 4 years for him was insane. It is obvious he was gonna change something, but his entire look can make him unrecognizable to some degree, as he was now as tall, if not taller, than Shoji, and his body was more defined. If wasn't for his green hair and eyes, they don't think they could recognize him at all. Not only that, but he had this aura around him that was intimidating to feel once in a while, but it didn't seem to go any further, right? Aizawa, what a life you went through. Izuku, oh that's nothing in all honesty, from the archipelago and on my life just got weirder and more interesting, but I loved it. He looks at the sky. I lived my dreamed life of fighting for others' freedom as I was able to become as free as the Pirate King himself. Of course I'll never equal him in any way, but I'm happy knowing my dreams came to life. The 4, Uraraka, wait, did you become a pirate? Izuku, oh yeah that. I want to keep it a secret and I want to tell you all my stories once we're with the class. Apart from wanting to surprise them, I also want to tell you all the insanity of life I had in that world, so no spoilers for all of you. A door is suddenly open wide, making everyone turn to it as they see an angry-looking All Might with tear marks in his face, who quickly rushes to Izuku just to give him a sucker punch that makes everyone's eyes almost burst out of their eye sockets. Who the hell are you, stealing the name off my student? He starts to shake Izuku violently. The 4, All Might. Stop, Toshinori. Izuku, this of getting old doesn't help me, he says with tears in his eyes, with All Might's fist imprinted on his face. About 7 minutes later. Kneeling down. I am so sorry, young Midoriya. I didn't recognize you with how old you look now. Izuku, I is okay, All Might, I changed too much for just 4 months of your life. He says as Tsuyu finishes putting a patch on him. Thanks Tsuyu. Tsuyu, is nothing Midoriya. Is good to see you back, though I genuinely struggled to accept your loss like everyone else who knew you. He says, still looking down even though he already stood up. Izuku, I bet it wasn't, I mean is not like my whole life in that other world was all colors and flowers. Suddenly remembers certain devil fruit. At least not literally, Uraraka. But about all this stuff, Deku-kun, she says, looking at everything as she goes to grab Izuku's katana. Izuku, wait, no. He takes it before she can. That's Nidai Kitetsu, a cursed sword. Unless your will doesn't equal or surpasses its past user, you can't wield it and it will most likely kill you. Izuku, wait, no. He takes it before she can. That's Nidai Kitetsu, a cursed sword. Unless your will doesn't equal or surpasses its past user, you can't wield it and it will most likely kill you. Uraraka, what? Izuku, it took me around 2 months to finally have it at my mercy, which is too much for people like Zoro-senpai who took 10 days to have control under the sword of the King of Hell himself. Aizawa, Jesus Christ, this other world is insane. Izuku, you have heard nothing about it yet. He says, scratching the back of his head. Tsukachi, wait, weren't you wearing quirk-canceling cuffs? Izuku, huh. He looks at his wrist and notices he broke them by accident. And I forgot. How weak this are compared to Sea Stone or the Celestial Dragon cuffs. Tsuyu, that was raw strength. Izuku, I got used to cuffs as hard as diamond, especially after me and Luffy-senpai got trapped by Kaido in Wano. Aizawa, just so you know, we don't know what the F you're talking about. Izuku, since when do you swear this much? Aizawa, since you died, you idiot. Izuku, chill, but this strength is nothing. I'm not even at the level of my captain or other enemies I've fought. I'm so weak back there, but at least I get to protect the people in my surroundings. He says while looking down a bit saddened. You won against your enemies, right? Izuku, why? But I still worried everyone in my surroundings. What matters is that you won, young Midoriya. You were able to be a hero to them no matter how stronger they were. Izuku, I guess you have a point. Tsuyu, Midoriya-chan, what is this paper all about? Kero, she says, showing the paper. Izuku, the Vivre card, did put it in the bag. He says, now more calmed. Tsukachi, Vivre card. Izuku, oh yeah. Quick explanation of them. Vivre cards are made by clipping your nail on a special paper you can barely distinguish from actual paper to see the life force of a person and where they are. At the moment it doesn't tell me where they are because, well, I'm not there, but it still tells me the condition of the person. And who is it? Is it your captain? Izuku stands there as he grabs it and saves it back inside the bag as a blush slowly makes itself present on his face. This makes Aizawa and the rest notice the fact the bag says Yamato, making them wonder more. Aizawa, that's a pretty Japanese name. Izuku, I is due to Wano, the person was born in Wano, and well, Wano is like ancient Japan. It was gorgeous to see even though it was a mess at Onigashima. Uraraka, but who is he or she? Izuku, I'll talk about it later. Can we get going to UA though? Well, maybe I should drop by my mother's house. Yeah, there. Can we go there? I can take you there. You don't mind coming with us, right, Tsukachi? Tsukachi, no, not at all actually. Alright then, we have to register that you are indeed alive, but we can't just have it be said to the public like that. It could be a mess for everyone. Izuku, I see what you mean. Revealing all of this could be a complete shaking to the world, and not only that, but I'm guessing the LOV is still out there. Revealing any of this could be the worst thing we can do. But it can come in handy. No one in the LOV or in this world is close to the level of an admiral or a single member of the Straw Hats, so if they were to invade apart from me kicking their butts, they would be defeated in seconds. Okay then, is better if we get going now. Aizawa, I want to tell you one thing before you guys go. The three turn to him. Midoriya's mom has been living with Bakugo's family since Izuku's death or well disappearance. She's gonna be over there, so you guys may also see Bakugo and his family now. Go. The three, hi. Izuku quickly packs all of his stuff in the duffel bag, putting on his belts, securing Ace and Nidai Kitetsu on said belts, putting on his pirate jacket and putting on his collar as he saves the Vivre card in the opposite side to his blades while holding it dearly. Izuku, see you all at UA later. He says as he gets the duffel bag in his shoulder and starts walking away with All Might and Tsukachi up front. Aizawa, he turns to Uraraka and Tsuyu. You heard Midoriya earlier, let them give the guys the scare of their lives. Tsuyu, are you sure, sensei? Aizawa, I am. While the other three made their way to the Bakugo household, which All Might is already familiar with. Forgot what it was to travel in a car. Izuku, definitely. Oh god, I was so used to boats and running around by this point that being in a car is so weird. Tsukachi, is like hearing a baby conscious of the world around him the day he was born and being like, what is going on? If you don't mind me asking, young Midoriya, how much do you now control of OFA? Izuku, oh that. On my control. 5%. Jesus. Tsukachi, and you are already a monster without a quirk. Izuku, still nothing like my senpais. They could easily match me at 100% and using hockey. This makes both Tsukachi and All Might turn towards him violently in shock to what they were listening to. They match his 100%, which surpasses All Might's with ease. Izuku, in all honesty, One for All became almost useless to some point after we entered the new world. Using it assisted me, but not enough to fight the opponents I had at hand. Some could easily take it and some would take more than 10 punches to even make them fall to their knees, and the Yonkoso god, I don't think I would have survived if I hadn't learned hockey. Tsukachi, hockey. Izuku, oh yeah, I should explain myself, again. Hockey is an ability of sorts that uses one's willpower to manifest it and use one's spirit to fight with. It has in total 3 different ways with advanced usages to each of them. One either goes through intense training to achieve it, experiences something traumatic, or can be born with it, but that last one is the weirdest case of them all. The most interesting part of hockey is that one can't fully train it to grow stronger. Hockey can grow even more powerful in the heat of battle than it does via normal training, which is why I love it, is quite literally plus ultra incarnated. There's a lot to learn now, isn't there? Izuku, more than you think, All Might, but it will be fun to tell you all what I've learned across the years, months for all of you, in that world. Tsukachi, you really have me intrigued on all these stories you seem to have. Would you not mind if I heard them when you are to tell your class? Izuku, not at all. If anything, you can help me confirm what exactly is true or not. Now could I ask you, young Midoriya? Izuku, yeah. Is about the Vivre card. Who exactly is this, Yamato? Izuku once again blushes as he covers his face, worried for this question and not knowing what to answer about it. Izuku, I'll talk about it once we're with my mom. She's gonna strangle me to meet her. A bit later, once at the Bakugo household. Izuku, how bad will she react to seeing me alive? I don't think it will be bad, but still have an umbrella ready. Izuku, I see you learned of my family. Tsukachi, that's concerning. Izuku, is part of our family. What else to tell you? He stares at the entrance door silently. I'm not knocking that door. All Might sighs as he goes to the door to knock it softly, while Izuku only takes in some saliva while looking at the door and holding dear onto his Vivre card as he thinks out loud, we may not meet again, Yamato, take care of her please, only making both All Might and Tsukachi to look at him even more confused. That is when the door opens, revealing Mitsuki, who seems to be a bit tired and ready to scream until she looks at All Might. Behind her, Bakugo, who was coming with some water and giving it to Callie, making both turn to the door as they see All Might too, surprising them. Mitsuki, All Might, what brings you here? Well, as some big event that came across. I think you know by now the news of the recent raid taken on by heroes. Mitsuki, yeah, Katsuki showed them to us, but what happened? Did something happen, or what is it you guys need with us? Is not exactly the Bakugos, if not Miss Midoriya. Mitsuki, why is that? Izuku, the why is me. Mitsuki turns to Izuku as her eyes widen, staring at him. She would not recognize him if it wasn't because she knows Hisashi, and this is exactly what he looked like back when him and Inko started dating in college. It was shocking and almost unbelievable for her to see Izuku look like this, and she knew it was him due to the color pattern that doesn't seem to be leaving him any time soon as she quickly nears him, looking right at him. Her hands quickly grabs his face as they start to move his head from side to side, looking at him, while Izuku only stood there quietly about this actions being done with his face until Mitsuki suddenly stops before pulling him in for a hug. Mitsuki, it's you are actually alive. She says, smiling, seeing her nephew alive and well, more well than ever before. Izuku, oh, and where to start about this? He says, still smiling, when he suddenly looks past the hallway, spotting both Bakugo and Callie, who only look at him as his eyes are filled with shock, spotting her with Bakugo, who only looks back at him surprised. Callie, looks just like Bakugo, like Uncle Hisashi. He quickly recognizes the hair and eyes, just looking at him with his now usual confused look of the moment. Deku. Callie, Izuku. Hearing this, Inko doesn't even take more time as she stands up and goes to the hallway to look at Izuku, who is just standing there. Mitsuki lets go off Izuku as she turns to the hallway, smiling widely while looking at Inko, who only starts to tear up seeing Izuku and how much he resembles her husband and his father. She starts to rush towards Izuku as she cries more and more before embracing her son tightly in a hug that would have break her son's spine in the past, but now is just a normal hug for him, one he loves to hug back with many emotions present on him. Inko, you're alive. You're alive, you really are alive, Izuku. She screams as she continues crying while hugging Izuku. Izuku, shishishishi, what to say about it? He says as he hugs back his mom with a warming hug. Inko lets go off him as she looks at Izuku up and down and all he's wearing, everything, and it just confuses her more and more as Bakugo and Callie start to near this, with the light brown-haired girl finally peeking out to see what's wrong and quickly noticing Izuku standing there, surprising her even more than before as she also starts to walk up to them. Inko, what happened to you, Izuku? Thought you died. Izuku, so did the entire world too, apparently. He says as his shoulder suddenly cracks dash, oh just where I got punched. Inko, why do you have all this swords? Why do you look so old now? You look like your dad before we graduated college. She says still with tears in her eyes while looking at him, Izuku, there's a lot to talk about and a lot to explain. He's gonna destroy me just telling you all this stuff that has happened to me. Callie, Izuku only turns to Callie smiling while looking at her and Bakugo. Izuku, hey there, haven't seen you in a long time Mori. Callie, YA's been a while, she says looking at him, Bakugo, Deku, Izuku, sup Kaken how you been? Bakugo, too don't even know myself, suddenly. A blur comes in tackling Izuku surprising him a lot before looking down and spotting light brown-haired girl tied onto him with 2 feathers on top of her head. His eyes only were kept on her in severe shock and even more when she screams. Izuku. Emumayu remembered me. Of course I did. Too couldn't forget you after you disappeared from my life like that. I can forget you but something was always gonna get you back at me and you knew it. But now look at you, you were gone for 4 months of my life after I thought you died to a villain. I have no right to discuss against you there but hey it wasn't easy for me too, I was gone for longer than all of you think. What does that mean? Ask both Mume and Inko. Well, about 45 minutes later, almost 4 years. Screamed everyone in the Bakugo household except for All Might and Tsukachi who Izuku gave ear plugs to but sadly Izuku couldn't cover them so now he's stunned beyond human belief. Izuku, Jesus Christ, snapping out of it dash, so that's why I changed so much. Inko, this is surreal for me to hear. You basically lived a completely new story and finished it. Izuku, yeah it's been something else for me. Bakugo, what kind of life did you experience? What kind of pirate world was this? Izuku, Shishishi is gonna be hard to summarize it all actually I think is basically impossible for me to do it. Mume, this is too much to take, she says looking up to the sky still trying to process everything she was told. Mori, God this is just insane to hear. Izuku, the life I had over there is short from insane, it was total insanity to deal with some of the stuff but at the end I loved the journey, one to make dreams come true. He says smiling, can I ask once again, who is this Yamato from the Vivre card? He says at this point needing a DMN answer from his successor. Izuku suddenly turns stone cold by this words from All Might as everyone looks at him as Izuku, slowly a blush covers him more and more as he remembers back to what happened after certain events in Elbaf, one of the last islands they went to and what it ended up generating down the line in his life. Izuku, WL. He reaches out for the bag with name, Yamato, written on it as he pulls it out of his belt letting everyone see it confused. He opens the bag to then take out the Vivre card and then quickly explain it to everyone else. Inko, I see, but what does this have to do with anything? Izuku takes a deep breath as he prepares himself just for a blush to intensify across his face as he looks down and hits his legs to snap himself into consciousness and to look at everyone else. Everyone stares at him interested and wondering the answer as he finally lets it out. This Vivre card is from that daughter of Kaidun of the Yonkos who we beated. Gave it to me back at Elbaf and I've been carrying with it since then, but, you know, things got a bit more interesting and things went along. Andu, he takes a deep breath and starts shaking a bit as most of them realize what's coming when all of a sudden he does a complete 90 degrees bow. Yamato is the woman who fell for me and took both my first kiss and first time. Bakugo Callie, what do you mean your first time? Tsukachi, what is this mess you are telling me? Mitsuki, what the F got you to that? Mume, Still lost thinking of it. Inko, does this mean I'm gonna be a grandmother? Doesn't know if be panicked or happy. Izuku, too don't know. I don't feel like explaining what led to it. Is not that is embarrassing or anything. Is just I am just gonna leave it there. He says still blushing even more. Bakugo, nerd don't tell me you came back and left her with your kid inside of her. Izuku, I didn't feel like doing so. When I learned this was the case she had already sent me back to this world. This is the why I didn't knew if I had the Vivre card. Everyone, so she's actually PRGNNT. Get back to that other world young Midoriya and take care of your future child. Tsukachi, why did you even try to come back here? Inko, am I having a granddaughter or grandson? Mitsuki, that doesn't matter right now Nko. What matters is that your son left a woman PRGN and I in another world we don't even know if he can come back to. Izuku, I can go back to it whenever I need to. Just calm down. I know I did wrong but she's the one who kicked me back into this world. After a bit everyone starts to calm down. She kicked me back into this world because she said I needed to join you all yet again and see you all again even if it had been 3 years since I last had seen you all. Yamato told me to come here and well as you can hear me say, she forced me here. I ended up crashing on Yokohama near the base of this Yakuza's they were fighting and I moved in to help. But how can you go back? Izuku, is a story for later that I will explain another time. I'm pretty done with explaining and all that. Last time I talked this much was so long ago already. Bakugo, when was it? Izuku, likes 9 months ago when I had to fight an ex-warlord of the sea that fleet impel down. Kali, another bunch of words we don't understand. Izuku, makes sense anyways who's in for sake. A loud banging noise is heard the moment a crying Inko hits the top of Izuku's head. Inko, my son became an alcoholic. Izuku's sad face I just a memory of Yamato inviting me sake a while ago, is just to ease my own pain. He says crying a bit, he sighs while looking at this scene young Midoriya, you should calm down for a bit and we should also get going to UA, the teachers will want to see you again to check on what happened to you. Izuku, I understand. He quickly stands up as he nods his head Kaken if you arrive before me, just don't tell them, I want to surprise everyone. Bakugo, what the F are you planning? Walk in like a corpse or some SHT. Izuku, he looks to the sky, Bakugo, don't tell me that was your plan. Izuku, I've gotten weirder plans Kaken don't get me started. Mume, hey Izuku, yeah. You wouldn't mind us visiting you all at UA right? I don't know if Nizu would agree to wait by us do you mean both you and Kali or do you also mean? Yeah, them too, Kaken would also meet them again too. Bakugo sighs I don't know if it time, I mean he's up to you, don't ask me. I would really like to hear your stories even if I forget them a day later, would really not mind. Personally not at all but about Nizu. I think he would agree but who knows, if they can you should contact them as soon as possible to let them know. Izuku, sure but first I need your phone number. Everyone's sad face he sure is more carefree now. Mume, sure. She takes out her phone as she writes it down on a piece of paper and gives it to Izuku here. Izuku, thanks, and I should get a new phone because I don't have one. He says as he saves it on his pocket before putting the Viva card on the bag I'm ready to go now. Alright then, to UA we go now. The group of 3 start to make their way to the door slowly but surely until they are suddenly stopped by Bakugo. What is it young Bakugo? Bakugo, I need to ask something to Deku. Izuku, what is it? Bakugo, is obvious to me you've grown in this almost 4 years of your life nerd, do you have control of your DMN quirk? Izuku, yeah but Kaken. Bakugo, what? Izuku, stop acting like a tough shell. Bakugo, huh? Izuku, Kaken I can feel how hurt you are, my supposed death hurt you didn't it? I can feel it worse than Tsuyu or Uraraka earlier, you seemed like you have completely changed to who you were before that day. Bakugo, Izuku, stop lying to yourself to be someone you aren't, be your true self and embrace it, that is one way one can become anything you want so stop dragging yourself down by seeing yourself as something you no longer are and look at the future to make your dreams come true. He only turns around as he starts to walk towards the door still keeping his smile on. Bakugo could only look at Izuku as he walked away silently with his eyes only focused on the front instead of what's behind him. He wants to become whatever he can be on his own and he will achieve it and he also wants Bakugo to do the same but on his own terms and longing. Something inside Bakugo triggered as some tears slowly started to make their way down his face while staring at his childhood friend. Bakugo, I promise you, Izuku turns around a bit to look at Bakugo who has more and more tears falling down his face while thinking of it. He wants to obtain his pardon and the honor to actually call him his friend yet again, not only that but he hopes to either reach the level of this friend of his with now 4 years of training, he wants to make himself worthy of being someone Izuku can respect and not that Kaken, who always diminished and tried to ruin everyone in his way that tried to become a hero with him that Izuku can find worth of having as both a rival and friend. I promise you, I will become that hero you always saw me as. So don't you dare die before I make my dream come true, Izuku. Izuku only smiles as he looks at Bakugo from the entrance to the yard of the house as he felt it overtake him, that joyous feeling his captain always told him he felt whenever a new crew member of his found his own longing to fulfill, their dream they will make come true. Izuku, I will be waiting for that day, Katsuki. Man, I had fun with this part. Next is his arrival to UA, which is gonna be fun, and then we start with him telling stories and some other stuff happening, so get ready people, this is about to be a blast. And yes, I kind of plan to have Izuku spread the influence of the Straw Hats onto his classmates and friends, maybe even pro heroes, but I do hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. Now see ya. Chapter 39 One Piece X MHA, the Straw Hat of UA. Now on their way towards UA, Izuku only stood there looking outside the window enjoying the travel as All Might continued driving calmly while Tsukachi was writing down some stuff about what he had been learning from the little snip bits of stories from Izuku, and even if it wasn't much it was something. So a father at Izuku, look, sake can make one do things they don't want to do, okay? He says, covering his face in embarrassment. You really got on to drinking sake and all that, Izuku, what can I say? Is worth it. Sake is pretty tasty and it really made me enjoy my journeys with them. Not only that, but the moment I was able to carry the will of D, I felt like sake became more than just alcohol to me, it became my way to find my fellow partners and nakamas across the Grand Line and the New World. Both All Might and Tsukachi just stay silent for a solid 10 seconds before Izuku is gobsmacked with a reminder. Izuku, oh yeah, none of you know about that, but what is that of the will of D? Izuku, well, there's a lot to it, but I have no reason to properly reveal the secret of what it means other than one thing. It's an inherited will, and anyone with the will of D is a natural enemy of the gods. Tsukachi, Hesso, a living way to declare yourself as someone who goes against anyone by that means is what you're saying. Izuku, a bit like that. There is obviously more, but I'm not going to reveal such secret we fought years to discover, is the same with the true history. What is that? Izuku, I guess I can explain with no issues, cause I also lived with that doubt for years until we found out about it. One of our nakamas, Robin, had wanted to discover the true history of the world, an entire century of the world where no one knows what happened during that PRD, not even some members of the world government know, a century known as the Void Century, where the whole world completely forgot about everything there, which history was such that the world government would destroy entire countries if they had attempted to learn it. Tsukachi, what? He says, looking at him in shock. Izuku, that's what happened with Robin's country. O'Hara was a nation trying to retrieve the history of the Void Century, and when the news got to the world government, it took about 30 minutes for them to want the island destroyed on what is called a buster call, a marine tactic to eradicate entire islands and its inhabitants. I actually witnessed one in a supposed secret pirate festival before we made our way to Wano. It was meant to be a meet-up spot for all of us, but turned out a treasure from the Pirate King himself was there, and don't think I'm not taking the chance to get something that may up my bounty. He says, rubbing his hands together before is stopped by All Might. I get the point of all your business was of pirates and all that, but calm it down, young Midoriya, people may see you as an actual criminal here. Izuku, I'm sorry, but I spent 3 years of my life either running away from the world government or fighting. My lifestyle is completely different to what all of you think it was. One thing is that I will definitely miss Sanji's cooking. Tsukachi, it clearly was, cursed swords, papers that let you see someone's life force, turning one's will into a weapon. It must be insanely boring for you to go from something filled of so much excitement to this world that must feel a bit bland for you. Izuku, it kind of is like going from an insanely colorful palette of something like the painting of Starry Night, and then see something like the Mona Lisa after staring at one for years. It feels genuinely weird. Well, you'll have to try and fit in yet again, but I do expect you to do it with ease. Izuku, same here, but who knows? Only time will tell, right? Izuku, after a while more of driving and Izuku explaining to them some other stuff they still have some questions about. Izuku answered some of their questions with no problem until they arrived calmly to UA and parked it right where it should go as everyone started making their way towards the teacher's lounge calmly and simple as it was all mostly in silence due to there being classes at the moment and classes finishing in another 30 minutes or so they think. The group suddenly enters the teacher's lounge and sees no one is there, not even Nizu, which is a bit surprising cause he's usually here choking on cheese like a natural madman he is. So the group decided to sit down as All Might gave him the rundown of some of the many things that have happened, like the opening of Height Alliance only giving Izuku more ideas to scare his classmates. Being given information about his classmates and how they've been, Izuku sees most of them have been having emotional issues, especially those who were present in Kamino Ward when he was sent to this other world. Izuku only sighs while looking at all this information in their growth and much more in this past time while refreshing his mind about his classmates. He obviously didn't forget those people he was with prior to the Straw Hats, but refreshing his mind wasn't that bad of an idea in his mind, and in all honesty, it was the right idea to do so and see what to do about himself and meeting them again. After a while, the teachers were making their way to the lounge after All Might called them up to it as they all made their way in silence and calmly. That's when they enter and see All Might talking to someone as Tsukachi takes some notes. All Might, so about 4 months for some to awaken it, even longer without proper training. Izuku, yeah, I was thankful to be taught by an old member of the Roger Pirates whose hockey almost impossible to match or survive at times, especially Rayleigh's, but I'm not the poor one who had to face it. Tsukachi, let me guess, you're captain. Izuku, Midnight, and who might this be? She says in a stuck tone, Izuku, no Izuku Midoriya. Don't you dare fall on temptations like Sanji-san would. He screams to himself while frozen Vlad King, is this why you called us up, All Might? Well, there is more to it, but yes. He looks too much like the little listener, he says looking at Izuku. Hoys Izuku, 13, now that you say it, yeah, it looks a lot like Midoriya. Hound Dog suddenly starts to smell him as Izuku just stands there, used to being smelled by minks back at Zoo. Hound Dog only looks at Izuku confused due to the smell as it does remind him of Izuku, but it feels stronger. His instincts start to warn him a bit about him, and this is due to Izuku letting out the color of the conqueror once in a while by accident. HD, who exactly are you? Your presence alone worries me and more than you think. Izuku's sad face. Can his animal instincts let him sense the smallest of waves of conquerors? Nizu, I must say the same as Hound Dog. He says coming out of the fur of the previously mentioned hero. You let out a weird feeling like that of a prey ready to hunt us down and ready to come at any moment. Snipe, he's not a villain, right? He says as his hand starts to go to his waist to reach for his gun. Of course not, why the hell would I bring a villain and show him stuff about the Class 1A students? Izuku's sad face. So do people with mutation quirks that work kind of like Zoans can sense my smallest waves of conquerors? Interesting reaction to say the least. Ectoplasm, so who are you? Izuku, oh me. Just a normal person. Another hit to the head making it the 40th contusion of the day. OW. Be real for once. Izuku's sad face. I think I now know what Luffy-san felt getting decked by Rayleigh during those 2 years. WL is me. Snipe, who is me? Who else were you guys comparing me to? To little listener, but you look a bit like him, but you're not him. But I am. Midnight, but you're not. But I am. 13, but you don't look anything like the little bunny of Class 1A. Is that a compliment of sorts? It is young Midoriya. Nizu, how are you so sure, All Might? Aren't you like the smartest one here? Another 20 minutes of explaining now done by Tsukachi and All Might. Nizu, how was this even possible? There was no remainings of something like a warp or anything in the area. Izuku, it was matter this world isn't familiar to, but in that other world is more common than we think. Midnight, can we go back to that of him being in another world for almost 4 years? I did not expect this at all. Cementos, we genuinely thought we lost you. Izuku, I also thought I died, I didn't see any light for 2 minutes straight until I landed on snow, to what I later learned I crashed on Drum Island. 13. What is with this island and country's names in this world? Izuku, I don't know myself but I got used to them, but I mean, what did you expect after so much living there? Ectoplasm, so is there much more for us to know? Izuku, well, I saved a princess. Ectoplasm, you know, I didn't need an answer, but I guess it makes sense you did that if you fought in different countries and kingdoms. Nizu, I must ask one thing though. Izuku, what is it? Nizu, there is no much people who know this, right? Izuku, no, of course not. Nizu, I see. Now my new question is this. Izuku, what is it? Nizu, how strong have you become, Midoriya? He says as he shakes off the instinct of running away from Izuku. Izuku, a lot, but I'm still weaker than most of my nakamas. Luffy-san's power is almost unmatchable due to what he truly turned out to be after Wano. Hinting to future spoilers, also I'm not the only one who loved 1044, right? Nizu, what does that mean? Izuku, that's a story for later, but Luffy-san surpasses me in every level. Everything I can do he can do 100 times better and more powerful, maybe not intelligence when it doesn't involve combat, but in everything else I'm outclassed. Nizu, but is there a way you can tell us how strong you are? Izuku, he starts to think a bit about it. Oh, I know. I can defeat the USJ Nomu and All for One in his prime at the same time. This makes a silence to come for everyone except for All Might and Tsukachi, who after some explanations from Izuku ended up understanding his powers a bit more and much more things about him, but it was still shocking to hear. To say the jaws of the other teachers dropped to the ground is like saying Luffy's shock at seeing his brother back in Dressrosa was all an act and not a real reaction from him. Snipe, why, you're kidding, right? Izuku, no, I'm not. My level has been such for a while. I think to be exactly since I went back to the archipelago to meet up with my crew is when my level had reached that point to face All for One like All Might did all those years ago, but I only grew way stronger as time went. Barely anything or anyone in this world can hurt me. Last time I got hurt badly was against Imu when I was nailed right across a quarter of Mary Geos to separate me from Luffy. Midnight, kid, we don't know what you're saying at all. Oh right. Sorry, I forget that. Says Izuku as he scratches the back of his head. Also, I'm not a kid, I'm already, the teachers, you're still a kid here. But I'm not. Nizu, we should get you to see your classmates after so long, Midoriya. Some of them miss you a lot and seeing you will definitely help them a lot. Izuku, yeah, but don't they have classes still? Nizu, Midoriya, is Friday and Aizawa is not even here. Izuku, now that you say it, yeah, I literally spoke to Aizawa a while ago. 13, let's get going then. Izuku, wait, I wanna prank the class. The teachers just look at him confused and wondering what exactly is he planning to think of that after coming back from the dead in this world. They did knew whatever it was, this is going to be hectic to witness. As they made their way there, Izuku explained them his plan and what exactly he felt like doing at the moment to scare this people who so much missed him for this past months. Class 1A found themselves resting in the living room of Height Alliance. It was tiring for them to train daily, but it was necessary if they wanted to grow stronger and stronger to become like they always have wanted to, giving it their all daily. Their bodies are clearly exhausted, insane quirk usage to try and go another step high in life to become the best of the best, but they simply can't do so at the moment. This doesn't stop them, of course, but this doesn't mean they will be giving up any time sooner to grow stronger, but body limitations don't let this happen this quick. Everyone was sitting there talking about their own stuff as Ito was analyzing every move and growth of his to see where he can improve and how he could make his training more effective than it already is, while Shoto only thought about some words from his green-haired friend and the many ways he could use his quirk by combining both of his powers to make it onto one, but he still doesn't know if he can achieve it to make his friend proud even if he's not here anymore. Uraraka, Tsuyu, and Kirishima were already here and were resting at the moment while looking at their friends who were carefully taking care of them and their injuries. They knew things got pretty bad by the end, but no one apart from both Tsuyu and Uraraka know that Izuku is the one who stopped Overhaul and saved Eri from him. Uraraka, she whispered, I wonder what he's doing right now. Tsuyu, well, you heard him earlier, so he's not gonna be here in a while. Uraraka, good point I guess. The main door suddenly is knocked on as everyone turns to the door and goes to open it, and to their surprise, Class 1B was there in the door, confusing them a bit at first. Momo, what brings you all here? Kendo, we wanted to talk to some of you about something. Uraraka, but what is it? Kendo, is about some training together. We've been meaning to ask you for a while, but we didn't know when was gonna be the time to do so due to what happened with Midoriya, she says, looking away due to the topic. Momo, we understand that, but none of you have to worry about anything. Kendo, so there is no problem at the moment for all of you, right? Class 1A, not really, we don't really mind yet. Monoma, why are we even wasting time on this class? It doesn't make sense to ask for something as useless as the one they lost. Kirishima, you are going too far now. Monoma, he says, standing up still injured while starting to near the entrance. Monoma, what is there of going far with someone that is already dead? Kendo, that you respect their passing, idiot. Not disrespect them to this degree. Monoma, like I will respect such pitiful death is something to respect. Ida's teeth start to clench hard to the point one can hear them scratch between each other from desperation to what he's hearing as Shoto's fire slowly starts to burst out of him while staring at Monoma. That's when they suddenly feel some sort of feeling intimidating them from afar, making them turn to behind Class 1B, where they spot someone just standing there, barely being capable of being seen by their own eyes. The feeling he was letting out was crushing to some degree, and it felt horrifying to be trapped under it as the teachers are unconscious near him. Monoma, who the hell? Izuku, well, who do we got here? The so-known Class 1A and Class 1B. Ida, who are you? Izuku, the man that has come to teach you all a lesson. He says, smirking, the teacher's sad face. He sure is having fun scaring them, they all say, still looking at the ground silently, faking to be unconscious. Monoma, tch. Like I care for what you want to dash. He suddenly is silenced the moment someone appears next to him. Izuku, his eyes suddenly let out a red glow as they turn completely gray, and he quickly pulls out Ace from his waist. Dash, thank you for teaching me this, Yamato. Thunderbugwa. Ace suddenly impacts onto Monoma's waist before sending him flying throughout all the bushes that surround the entrances to the dorm buildings, shocking everyone from the insane power display led in this one blow that none of them know was infused with a little bit of the Conqueror's. Izuku, oh, I actually was able to use it. She would have loved to see that. Everyone just stares at him, either surprised or scared, especially those with mutation quirks, which deepest instincts is warning them about this man in front of them. Uraraka and Tsuyu are the most surprised due to the power he just put into that one attack, which makes both of them think back to earlier and the attack he called Divine Departure, and how much more damage it did, but from his words, it sounds like he was still in training this one move. Izuku, he notices everyone around him as he clears his throat. Dash, now then shall I get started? Our run, he said silently, trying to give them hope with his amazing acting skills. The class only look at the villain up front, them not knowing exactly what to do. Some of them, like Pony and Tokoyami, felt the domination of this beast in front of them, almost making them fall to their knees and almost making them face towards their classmates, but were hanging in there, deeply needing to follow the orders of this new captain of theirs. Tsuyu was no different, and neither was Kamakiri, who only looked at him in disbelief, wanting to know who was this man in front of him. The first to try to do something were Ida and Shoto, who looked at the villain, unfazed, making a smirk appear on him, as Kendo also was hanging in there a bit, but compared to the other two, she was having her issues. All three of them get ready to rush at him as his body warns him about incoming danger before a red bright light comes out of him in the form of a spark while looking at them. In a swift move, Izuku found himself moving under a high kick from Ida before throwing a nail towards Shoto, who sees this coming and quickly covers his arm in ice to block it, successfully doing so. His hand quickly goes to grab Kendo's wrist and pull her, in the process throwing her to Ida, making both stumble back before Izuku once again disappears from their eyes and rushes towards Shoto with Ace at hand, shocking everyone as they try to move in to stop him. Shoto embraces the incoming attack as he doesn't move at all, as everyone looks at this in shock and desperate to move, but Ida and Kendo lost control, not letting them move at all as they look at the attack go to their friend who accepts death. Shishishishi. Shoto slowly opens his eyes as he sees the blade some inches from his neck, surprising him to then look back to the attacker, who only continues laughing a bit. Ha 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 ha. I truly got you, Shoto. Really made you think your death had arrived. Everyone continues looking at the villain in front of them as he takes his sword away from Shoto's neck before putting it in his shoulder and continue laughing as everyone was just confused as the teachers start to stand up behind the students with Mike obviously being the loudest. PM, man, I did not expect your acting skills to be this good, little listener. He continues laughing while looking at the shocked and surprised faces of the teachers. 4 years are enough for one to grow, you know. He continues laughing now looking at the teachers. AM, well, he sure is having fun himself. He says with a sweat drop while looking at his successor, Tsukachi. Again, life for him has been insanely different. He says coming out of the bushes while dragging Monoma to the place they are at, Pony sensei's. She asked confused, Vlad, why did we agree on this? 13, because he said it was more of a test, but he seems to be having a lot of fun about this. Vlad, he sighs defeated. He did put a fair point. Momo, senseis, who is this? Izuku, I guess a proper introduction is required. He pulls up his hair back while he smiles looking at everyone behind him. Name's Izuku Midoriya, better known as Lightning Knight Deku. Is good to see you all again. The whole place falls in silence as the teachers just look towards the multiple reactions of both classes as some shocked utter shock to this reveal. 2 of them only smile after his reveal, others showed fear after the show of power from Izuku, and some people in particular couldn't help but cry looking at this friend and partner of theirs standing in front of them with their iconic and triumphant smile. The first one to do anything to everyone's surprise is Kendo herself, who quickly starts to check on Izuku, insanely worried as she cries. This seriously surprises everyone, but not too much as they did expect Kendo, who had become friends with Izuku prior to the sports festival, just like most of both classes, who couldn't help but respect Izuku saving Shoto from himself and making him act once and for all. Kendo only continues looking at him as Ida and Shoto quickly rush at Izuku and tackle him while hugging him tightly, just to start crying insanely loud while hugging their friend. Ida, Midoriya. He screams while hugging his friend who now is taller than him. Shoto, please tell me is not a dream. You're really here. Izuku's sad face. I see my hair and eyes actually give me away. Is good to see you all again, he says, hugging them back with his smile still present. Kendo, what happened to you? How did you grow this tall? Can I get an answer, Midoriya? She says, still smiling while looking at Izuku and still crying a lot. Izuku, oh boy, time to go across this story all over again, damn it is tiring. Uraraka, what a harmless prank. She says sarcastically while looking at Izuku. Tsuyu, I think he could have done worse. Mina, why are you two so calmed about his return? Aren't you two his best friends? Uraraka, Tsuyu, we already knew. Class 1A and B, hold on, what? Except for the 3 mentioned to be crying while hugging Izuku. Kirishima, how did you knew? Uraraka, while you were fighting off those villains in the base, me and Tsuchan were taken down to the boss with Ryukyu and the rest. We couldn't do much until Deku-kun appeared and defeated Overhaul in 3 moves. Kaminari, wait, 3. What the hell happened? If he could do it, then how could you guys not do it? Jairu, that sounds pretty bad, but putting in mind Midoriya can't use much of his power. Tsuyu, well, that doubt will be cleared in a bit. Uraraka, just get ready because it's a wild trip. Zero Mineta, how more wild it can be than fighting a villain who All Might barely defeated. Zero Mineta, so you fought people 40 times stronger than All Might on his prime. Izuku, yeah, I have full control of my quirk, and not only that, but the new world was basically hell incarnated, always a fight to survive, which we always succeeded cause nothing was stopping us from making our dreams a reality. Either grow stronger or die to the monsters that live in it. I was not just lucky but also strong enough to face anything with my will at its best point, my nakamas, and me always ready for whatever was to come and knowing the next challenge was going to be stronger than the last one. Ida, it sounds like you went through a lot, but it's good to see you again, my friend. He says, cleaning off his tears. Shoto, same over here, man, I was finding it hard to deal with this loss, he says, looking down, still trying to catch as much breath as possible. Kendo, is good to see you again, though, even though we thought it would never happen. She says, smiling while sobbing. Monoma, so what if you did that? It means nothing on this world, your dreams, and all of that were for nothing because here they are just a story that sounds more like a fantasy and a joke than anything else. He says arrogantly while looking at Izuku, Izuku, yeah, you have a point, I am not gonna go against you there, but my power and strength still follows me, you know. He says as he glares at Monoma before his pupils suddenly turn white and a shockwave goes off on a way towards Monoma, quickly knocking him out. The sudden pulse that only passed through everyone around them, leaving them confused, only made those with the animal transformation mutation quirk shiver, as their own animal instincts could still feel the strength of this conqueror in front of them. For the others it was shocking that Izuku's glare was apparently enough to knock out Monoma in the matter of seconds, and the teachers were also surprised, all except All Might and Tsukachi, who had learned from Izuku exactly what they just witnessed. Izuku, anyways, leaving the trash bag right outside the door doesn't mean people will throw it away, you know. Kirishima, so this is a badass Midoriya EY. Jairu, can't argue there. Tsuyu, Midoriya, what was that now? Izuku, I'll explain it later, okay. Mina, what do you mean Tsuyu? Tsuyu, did anyone else feel it? Tokoyami, I did, like a dark pressure off a king overpowering that demon who so much wanted him, crushing him beneath his heel until he became his pet. Kamakiri, exactly what it felt like. Setsuna, that was horrifying. Izuku, as I said, I will explain later. He says while looking at everyone. Ida, if to what we got you became a pirate, right? Izuku, yeah, what about it? Shoto, is just some questions about your crew, how were they? Izuku, he puts his hand on his chin as he starts to mess with it. I say the best way to describe it is as a messy family of three whose mother loves dark humor and the dad loves to expand his chaos to his children. Actually, to put it even more simple, think of Meet the Robinsons. He says, still smiling. Almost everyone easily understood due to Izuku's phrasing and much more, but if he was really meaning that, how insane was this crew he worked with all this 3 years and 9 months. And between me and you readers, we know the appealing craziness of the Straw Hats. At Tokyo, Japan. We see Bakugo walking down the street with both Kali and Mume as they make their way towards certain building with him leading them up front for security. Mori, I did not expect it, it will be amazing news for the rest. She says, smiling while thinking of their talk with Izuku. Mume, yeah, she says while still walking along them and thinking about the talk. Bakugo, is it the father thing that has you thinking, Nanashur? He asks as he looks back at Mume, who is surprised by the use of that one nickname she hasn't been told in years and only remembers due to it always being written on her wrist. If anyone is to ask about the nickname, it comes from Nanashur, and the Japanese for forgetful, Monoasier, given by both Izuku and Bakugo equally. Mume, well yeah. Is making me think about it, I have a memory sorts come to me when I think of it. Bakugo, sad face, don't tell me, is the classic promise of childhood friends. He says as his eyes narrow while looking at Mume. Mume, all I can remember from that memory is Izuku telling me that's he not leaving me even if he were to die. Bakugo, oh thank F God is not a cliché. He whispers to himself, but Mori hears this and gives him a jab on the shoulder. OW. Mori, more respect over her remembering something, asshat. Bakugo, TCH, Mume, Izuku told me he wanted to be my hero even if I was to forget him, he was always going to protect me, even if he were to die he would. Both Mori and Bakugo fell in silence as they only continued walking, taking in what they just heard from Mume. In a way she had shown to be pretty sad over the loss of Izuku, but as time went by, she was being more and more hurt by the minute she had a memory of her friend, and he didn't like this feeling at all. The news of him now being part of their lives yet again meant a lot to her, clearly just like it was for everyone else. Bakugo, he is here, no is all that matters. Mori, there is more to it from what I heard you scream earlier. Bakugo, Mori, is good to see you found more motivation to be with him and fix your issues. Katsuki. Bakugo, don't thank me for doing so, thank him for being such a kind person. Mori, well, what did I just heard? Katsuki. Bakugo saying the word, kind. I did not expect it in a millennia. She says, chuckling. Bakugo, I want to be someone he can actually call a friend, someone worth his time. No longer the prick who tried to ruin his life, but someone new and better that is there to be worth his time and life. Has such simple talk already made your ball drop apparently? What's with you and roasting me after 6 years without seeing one another? Just felt like pulling a leg of yours won't hurt that much. She says, shrugging it off with a smile. Am I like that? Worse. How the F did Izuku dealt with me for a decade? Holy SHT, says Bakugo, covering his face in both embarrassment and disappointment over himself. Strong-willed people can survive anything, he's a perfect example. Says Mume while looking at her wrist and still seeing the nickname, Nana Sure, written on it a bit faintly. Yeah, you have a great point. The group of 2 girls and a guy end up arriving to a close building where Bakugo knows perfectly he can't go further than the parking entrance due to legal reasons of the company in front of him, this being Hololive. Bakugo only stands there while looking at the building in the window, spotting a certain someone, the same person that said it was still not time for the 2 to talk yet again, who is also able to notice him, making her look away from the window before closing it. Mori, chill up Katsuki, she'll talk to you one of these days. Bakugo, I know, but god damn it sure is a merciless way to scold me. Mori, don't get all grumpy about it. Says the dad. To the dog he didn't want. TCH. UDMN-. He's suddenly hit by a finger flick from Mori, stopping him from screaming before she hugs him, making him keep quiet. I missed you both and is good to see you again, Katsuki. I also missed you too, just don't make it feel like we want talk again, Mori. Bakugo says as he hugs her back. Mori once again gives Bakugo a kiss in the forehead with a bit of passion but not more to it. It did make Bakugo a bit uncomfortable for only the reason it was in public. Oh no, he enjoyed that kiss to say the least. After all, Mori is his dreamed girl and she knows it perfectly. As a result, she sometimes did it to tease him and other times just because of her emotions she puts aside for him. But now, seeing that he wants to redeem himself in some way, shape or form for what he did in the past, she thinks is about time she starts being honest to him about his feelings. I'll see you another day, Katsuki, do hope for it to be soon. She says with a small smirk as she lets go of Bakugo. A blush only covers Bakugo's face as he looks away from Mori with a small smiles of his own. See you two another day. Bakugo starts to walk away with direction to the bullet train station to Mustafu to finally get back to UA and rest for the day. It's been long to say the least, so many meetups he never expect to happen in a long time or even again, but here he was now making his way back to UA rather content instead of miserable like he was earlier today, and it felt great, greater than anyone could think. Mume and Mori only looked at him walk away calmly, but they could feel he was starting anew now, and Mori was the most happy of the bunch while Mume thought if she left rice in her rice cooker and if she didn't went nuts like last time, but if she did, she could save some for next time when her and Izuku meet yet again. Back at UA, Izuku was walking down the hallways of the school feeling a bit off, for months for them but for him almost 4 years since he last set foot on this school ran by a maniacal rat that doesn't seem to be as tyrannical after the opponents he faced back in the world of the Straw Hats. His destination was a place he was rather familiar with and one where he had an apology to deliver and maybe the smack of the century delivered onto his face. After all, it seems like people have an obsession with hurting him as much as Nami's punches hurt whenever they did something straight up ridiculous, even for that world's terms, which is understandable, but when everyone does it to you almost every 7 minutes of the day, it clearly gets tedious, and this was the case now, especially with his dearest of friends. As he nears the door, he only stares at it silently while thinking of how to approach the situation. From what he gathered, the person he's about to talk to is said to be the one who was affected the most, only rivaled by his mother, whose reason is quite understandable, especially for who she is and what happened prior to this. Midoriya, you always seem occupied with other stuff when not training, but what is it? Oh, that, well, I really never had friends in the past myself, so I really find a lot of importance on hanging out with them and just being there with them. Friends, EY. I think it's also been a while since I last had friends. In all honesty, I find it a bit hard to believe it myself, but the truth is the truth. I see. Hatsum, do you ever feel lonely for not having them? Not really. As carefree as they come. Booties, not really that I don't feel like having. I feel like I'm too weird to fit in the groups of people who just want to spend their time talking, being themselves, and just that. Not saying I'm not myself when building. Oh boy, am I myself when I do so. But there is more to it, right? Yeah, I feel like I would be a terrible friend, all this people having their cool life stories and all, and I don't know what to say about myself. I'm just someone pretty big into inventing since I was a little kid, and the rest is basically history. Would you like to have friends? I don't know what to answer there. On one side I really do feel like it, but on the other one I just don't see myself having friends. Would you like me to help you? Ha. I'm not one with many friends, but am one who thinks in quality over quantity. Of course I'm not saying to treat your friends like a school of fishes or something for the style, but all friends I've made here at UA are people that value me, who see me for who I am and don't mind my flaws. So, sound like you had it rough before. You wouldn't believe me. But why help me? Well, I know you may see me as a partner, but personally I see you as a friend of mine, and well, I value my friends a lot and you are no difference at all. I see. So what do you say, Hatsum? Want me to help you make some friends? Sure. I wouldn't mind it at all. Maybe they could even help me on my work like you do. Hatsum, not all friends agree to stuff like that, you know. He, I know, but do you promise to help me out with making friends? She says, looking at Izuku straight on his green eyes as she stretches out her arm. I do. I will live up to my promise, because me and you are friends. He says as he shakes her hand. Well, I guess this fully makes you my first friend. You only saw me as a Jinia pig before, didn't you? No. I saw you as my partner in crime, now I guess it's grown to be more. She says as she smiles at him. Izuku takes a deep breath while looking at the door in front of him in dead silence, reading the words, workshop, in the sign. Whatever punch, stab or anything to come for him was gonna take it straight to wherever it came into if it meant it made Hatsum feel better. He quickly opens the door as he sees all lights were off except for one in the distance where something was moving around. The place seemed rather clean and he couldn't see any scraps or anything nearby that could threaten with killing him. By using observation, he's able to see the singular soul inside of this place that he easily identifies as the one of his pink-haired friend, and no, not that one mermaid that seems to have it for Luffy. I think I spoke too much. Anyways. Izuku started to walk towards her in as much silence as possible. He didn't know exactly what she was doing but started to near her, but that's when she speaks up. If you are here for costume upgrades, leave a note on the entrance and don't annoy me. Her tone of voice was defeated and tired, someone restless that had to give up something before this talk or was having a bad day with terrible sleep. Izuku didn't stop as he was nearing her, more and more still, as silent as all his equipment let him be. He didn't leave anything back at the dorms due to him not wanting them to see all his stuff yet, and he was clearly not letting anyone touch Ace, even less touch Nidai Kitetsu. His walk continued as slowly he saw Hatsum holding something on her hands while looking at it, deeply focused and clearly tired with it all. She didn't know what to do anymore. She hears the steps still nearing her as they start to annoy her, due to how focused she hasn't even bothered to turn around to see who it is. What do they want with her? I told you something already, so you better leave already. You have nothing to do here, so move it out of here now. Want me to leave that? Well, guess I'll go. Says Izuku as he smiles. Hatsum, hearing this voice, slowly turns around as it reveals red puffy eyes from crying with tear marks all across her face. As she looks at where the voice came from, she quickly turns the light to where it came from, to be met by the taller yet still lanky Izuku looking at her with her smile. Though he grew and all, his voice hasn't really changed at all, so for Hatsum it was more than enough for her to know it was her first friend in years. Me, before you say anything, it really is me, Hatsum, the friend who promised you to help you make more friends. He crouches down to her level, and I came back to complete my promise and see you become the best inventor out there. Hatsum couldn't help it anymore as her hand slowly reaches out to Izuku's face and starts to touch it, feeling his many scars across his face and his older body in pure disbelief as that smile of her friend only stares at her happily and gladly as she still can't believe. That's when she gets ready to throw a slap, but to herself, thinking she was in the middle of sleep, but that's when Izuku's hand stops her from doing so as his smile only grows bigger. You sure missed me a lot, didn't you, Hatsum? Hatsum could only cry in disbelief to this while staring at Izuku.